All right, so I'm in the middle of cutting in for my living room. I'm painting, and I wanted to stop and take a video to educate you on how to do this properly, in case you didn't know how, or in case you have a friend over that's trying to help you paint, but maybe he sucks and you need to teach him in about 5 minutes. So let's go ahead and do this. First, we're going to go over what paintbrush and other tools I like to use. Okay, the key to painting is to not cheap out on a brush. I get all my brushes from Sherwin-Williams. I believe this is a 2-inch brush. I wouldn't go any wider than a 2.5-inch brush. And you can see how that edge kind of tapers down like that. The cheap brushes are just flat, and those suck. You're going to have a terrible time painting. So I get this brush from Sherwin-Williams. It's a Purdy XL brush, and it works nice. It's not cheap though, but it's fine, because you can use this. I promise you can use this for years if you take care of it. And the way to take care of it is to buy one of these brass brushes, also from Sherwin-Williams. And then when you're done painting at the end of the day, go wash it out under a hose and then just like brush it like that. And that'll keep it clean, and you can use this for a long time. The other little tool that you need is this little paintbrush cover. When you're in the middle of painting and you want to stop for a couple hours, you don't want your brush to dry out because that will damage it. So you can get this, store it in here for a couple hours, and you'll be good to go. So that's all the tools I use. I also use, I guess, one of these little handy paint pail things. It's nice to have that hand grip on there. Just gives you some support while you're painting. But anyways, that's what I use, and let's go ahead and go over techniques of how to use this brush. And to do that, we're going to go ahead and cut in this window. And after you learn to cut in a window, you're pretty much good from there. You can paint an entire room based off of what I'm going to teach you on how to cut in this window. So let's get into it. Okay, so there's two main things that you need to know when you go to paint. You need to know which edge to lead with and which edge to trail with. Really, I'm talking about like the back and the front of the brush. So this angle comes down further and this is shorter. So the edge that comes down further is always going to trail. So if I'm painting this side of this window, this part of the brush that comes down the furthest is going to be up top. Okay? The second thing you need to know is which side of the brush do you keep the paint on. And so, if I have the brush up here and that tapered edge is leading over here, I want my paint always on the outside of the brush from the wood, from the trim. So, knowing that, when I push this into my paint pail, I have paint on both sides. I'm going to scrape it off the other edge that I don't want. And then I like to start by just globbing it up on the wall over here. So I'll do that for one pass, and I'll do a second pass like that too, just to get some excess paint on the wall. Now I'm not going to dip it again, all right? I'm going to pull from here. This is my paint that I can pull from to use. So I'm going to pull from there, and then just get in nice and tight up against there. Same thing, wiggle in, and then just follow down. I kept that paint on the outside of my brush so that it's not getting on the trim. And so I finished this one little section. I like to do a little less than a 2-foot section at a time. And so we're cut in tight to the wood over here, but we still have a glob of paint. And so now I'll just come back through and kind of feather that out and continue on down the window. So again, let's get in, zoom in here, honey. My wife's filming me, she's lovely. So that tapered edge, okay, it's going on the outside here. We dip it in the paint pail. We go ahead and get the excess off. And then we can come in, dip again, come in. And then the first pass, up here I just like to keep it tight against the wood. Come all the way down. And then feather it out again. The first couple times you do this, you're going to have to really think about, like, man, which side does the paint go on? But after you do an entire room, this will just become second nature to you. The same rule applies whether you're doing baseboards, ceilings, anything. It's that one technique. So, like I said, if you can learn how to cut in this window, you'll be able to paint a whole room. All right, I'm going to finish up this side and then we'll move up to the top. All right, come on over here real quick. See how I got this little detail right here? I'm just changing my positioning to get in there. And you always just want to smooth it out at the end. You don't want a lot of excess paint, you know, running down your walls. Boom, we got one side done. We got 3 more to go. Okay, now we're at the top of the window. Here's the tapered brush again. I have the lower part leading, or I guess trailing, going this way. So our paint is going to go on this side. So we dip it, wipe off this way, and then drag it one more time. We'll pull from here, get close to our wood. It's easier when you don't have these little trim blocks in the way. But it's just a smooth, you know, you can drag it. Look at that. You can drag it almost 2 feet before you run out of paint. And then it's just quick and easy. Just smoothing it out. Get the rest of this window. See how I skipped over that little detail right there? It's because I'm going to now turn my brush around over here and kind of touch that up. Whenever you're cutting in, always cut in 2 coats. You can do what you want. You can go ahead and cut in 2 coats and then roll 2 coats. Usually what I like to do is cut in 1 coat, roll a coat, cut in the next coat, and then finish with rolling. All right, now we're on to the left side. Okay, now we're on the left side of the window. We're going to go over this again. There's that tapered edge. This side hangs down lower, and that's going to be up top. Paint's going to be on this side away from the wood. So as I put it in here, I dip it. Paint's on this side, remember? So I'm going to turn it, wipe off this side. Look, the paint's facing away from the wood. All right? So now I can drag down, maybe do 1 more, pull from here, then get in there nice and tight. And pull straight down until we start to run out of paint, which is right there. And smooth it out with our leftover. I'm a self-taught painter, so if you're a professional watching this and you have even better tips, feel free to leave those comments down below. I learned how to paint when I was remodeling houses, and we painted an entire house, and no one taught me how to paint. I just kind of figured this out on my own by the time I had painted a lot of bedrooms. So, I'm doing the same thing here. That edge needs to be up here, paint's on this side, right? Put it on there. We'll pull from here and go down. Smooth that out. Now when you're doing stuff over here like this, you got to get in awkward positions sometimes. All right, so now I'm going to change my brush orientation a little bit. My leading edge is going to be facing down here. So I'm going to put the paint away from the brush again. Splatter it on there a little bit. All right. I'm trying to stay out of the way so my wife can help film this. All right. Ooh, pretty good job. I could do better if I wasn't filming and trying to stay out of the way, but It looks good. All right, now we're gonna get down and do the bottom edge. Whenever I'm doing stuff like this, I like to literally just lay on the ground. I put my shoulder on the ground. Here's the brush again. We got that longer edge over here. And I'm gonna paint from right to left, all right? So I want my paint on this side of the brush right here. So I'm gonna put it in. I wanna keep the paint on the side facing you. So I'm gonna pull that away and get painting. If you can master which side to put the paint on, that's pretty much all you need. And then you definitely got to have a steady hand, but it's not as intense as you might think it is. But yeah, just get your practice in. All right, one more. Depending on the size of the room, you really got to get in some awkward positions for this. Ooh. All right. And that's it. That window is all cut in for the first coat. We still got to do one more coat after that. But I hope explaining this made a little more sense to you of, which edge to lead and trail with, and which edge to keep, or which face to keep your paint on whenever you're painting. So if you can master those two things, I guarantee you can figure out how to paint and you'll do a good job. And if you're showing this to a buddy of yours who's going to help you paint, you're welcome, because I've had friends help me paint and they sucked, and I had to teach them how to do this and they still didn't do it right. But good luck. We'll see you.